win yesterday. The Jets were off, but they returned to the field for a Giant home game this weekend. It'll be the Giants against the Jets, and all of a sudden, this little baby has a little juice to it. If the Giants had lost, there's a good chance a lot of Giant fans would have sold their tickets to Jet fans, because the Jets obviously at 3-3 would seem to be more of a realistic bet to make the playoffs, but the Giants in the NFC certainly have an opportunity. So my question to all of you and to Don and Peter is this: bigger game for which team?
Well, the Jets are going to need every win they can get if they're going to make the playoffs.
So will the Giants.
But
stop. See, that's when it sounds silly, doesn't it?
It does.
It's bigger for the Jets. The Jets have a chance to do something interesting. The Giants don't.
Your arrogance about, I mean, I don't root for anybody to do anything, but I'm rooting for the Giants to make the playoffs just to shut your filthy trap, your burping trap.
First of all, you can shut my filthy burp and trap all you want. It still wouldn't prove anything. They were in the playoffs last year. This year's a disgrace no matter how you cut it.
What if they win out? Is it a disgrace?
No.
If they win out, okay, yeah.
Everybody's, you know what? Everybody's alive right now. Everybody's alive. So is it big? Who are the Arizona Cardinals playing this week? Who are the New England Patriots playing this week? I mean, everybody's mathematically alive, Michael. Everybody has a chance to run the table and still make the playoffs. That's the fallacy of the 7th and the 3rd wild card and the 7th seed, is that it goes usually to teams that are 9-8, 8-9. But right now, I mean, Peter's right. The Giants have a lot more work to do before we can start saying playoffs. But if you're saying, like, just moving in the right direction, just feeling like you're building off of what little momentum you've been able to create, it's bigger for the Giants. But the Jets are very much alive, not for making the playoffs, as much as winning this division. I mean, they're right now in a tie, basically, with the Buffalo Bills. They played one less game, and they beat Buffalo, so essentially they're a second-place team. Miami finally played somebody and lost 31-17, and they've got 2 games left with the Dolphins. So the Jets, the division is in play. So from that standpoint, it's clearly bigger for the Jets, Michael, because they've got bigger fish to fry. They're in contention to win a division. The Giants are just trying not to embarrass themselves week to week. So far, they haven't for 2 straight weeks. So, in that sense, make it a 3rd straight week. Start trying to build some traction so that you look like you're a functioning organization. The Jets are actually battling to win the AFC East.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what world besides like you and John, our pinhead suit.
John Winthrop or John Mara?
Yeah, you, John Mara, John Winthrop. But besides you guys, who's having a real conversation about that? I'm just with Don on this. The Jets are in a world where if the quarterback can stay stable and maybe just be on a positive trajectory, I'm not talking about him becoming a great quarterback by year's end. That's not realistic. Him just going on a positive trajectory that he's been on, I believe, the last few weeks. They continue to play the way they play. They should make the playoffs, and then they could have a competitive wild card weekend. I don't think there's any version of this Giants team where it gets turned around to that degree. The defense has been playing better, but I'm sorry, they've no one to protect the quarterback.
But those players are going to come back. Schmitz is supposed to come back. Andrew Thomas is supposed to come back. All of a sudden, it makes their line that much better. And now with the people that you've added, Pugh gives them some depth. I mean, the way that you just I don't think it's going to happen. But let's take a look. I mean, the Seahawks are 4-2. That loss to the Seahawks is going to be tough. Rams are 3-4. All right, let's look at the NFC North. Vikings 2-4, Packers 2-4, the Bears 2-5. In the South, Falcons are awful. They lead at 4-3. Buccaneers 3-3. Saints 3-4. I mean, the 7th seed in the NFC might have an under 500 record.
I know, but you're throwing shade at and completely scoffing at teams who all have better records than this team.
I understand
you just said the Falcons are awful. They're 4-3.
I understand that.
Okay.
But you can't just completely eliminate the Giants because of how bad the NFC is. You can now, if you want to eliminate them and just tell me they're not a good team, okay. They're not a great team. But they're not much different than the team that was there that made the playoffs last year with an easier schedule.
Okay, but both can be right. All right, there is a world in which, because the NFC is not great, that the Giants could find themselves making the playoffs. I got news for you, Michael. Even if they lose to the Jets, your scenario still exists.
Right.
Because it's a non-conference loss.
Right.
And if the conference is that bad, they might be able to get up from starting 2-6 and still making the playoffs. The Jets, on the other hand, are a team that has a chance to win this division, but also has a chance to completely miss the playoffs because the AFC is much stronger. So clearly it's a much bigger game for the Jets because they're in the conversation. And if they were to lose to the Giants, you'd start to think to yourself, oh, that loss to the Giants really takes a lot of the steam away from beating the Eagles. And now you're under 500. And now you might fall, 2 games behind or 2.5 games behind Miami. And Pittsburgh now is ahead of you. And Cleveland's now ahead of you. And Cincinnati, if they win, will be ahead of you. Now you've put serious damage to your actual playoff hopes. If I look at it this way, Michael, if the Jets are going to make the playoffs, then they got to beat the Giants.
I would agree.
So clearly it's a huge game for the Jets. It's huge for the psyche and the character and the confidence of the Giants moving forward. But as far as what the Jets can accomplish this season, it's all about the Jets getting a win against the Giants.
I don't know if you guys saw this stat pop up yesterday, but the last team to make the playoffs from 1-5 was the Washington football team in 2020, the COVID year where they went and lost to Tampa Bay in the playoffs. By the way, if you're curious how they did against the Giants that year, lost both games. Continue.
That's
what's
crazy.
Weird. It's crazy.
That's what's so strange is that, why would the Giants so have the Commanders' number?
The teams change, the coaches change, the players change. Nothing's the same except they just beat them every time, which is what makes me so sick about Ron Rivera. How do you go into a game like that when you know that everyone's expecting that, and that's what you do again?
Well, maybe he got comfortable listening to you say how great Howell was going to be.
I don't think that's possible. And first of all, I didn't say... Why does he always make things up?
This guy could be the guy. Doesn't look like the guy.
Could.
Doesn't look like
that's crazier than what you're saying about the Giants in the playoffs?
I am not saying the Giants are making the playoffs. Don't misconstrue what I'm saying.
Don't misconstrue what I'm saying.
You said this guy could be the answer.
You could.
I stand by that. He still could be the answer.
I don't think so.
I don't think so either, but he could be.
Could be.
Time now for the Robert Saleh Report, brought to you by Infinity.com and Sloman's.
Oh, hey, Robert, how are you?
Hey, Bob.
No,
good to see you on the...
It's Sound Bob. Robert Saleh was asked his thoughts about the Giants matchup.
They're talented, man. Defensively, they're very, very impressive on the defensive side of the ball. You guys know how much respect I have for Wink and everything he does. And offensively, they're starting to move the ball very well. I think they had over 350 yards yesterday, moving the ball consistently up and down the field. Thought they did a great job versus Buffalo, putting themselves in position to win that football game. So they're hitting stride. They look really good. They're starting to look a lot like that playoff team, that team that made the playoffs a year ago.
You know what I was thinking, too? Maybe another thing for Peter to jump me on. Imagine if the Jets had a real backup quarterback like Tyrod Taylor.
Well, how would I jump you for that? I that was my number one. Listen, I don't want to take credit for everything. We all have said similar things. I don't believe anyone was louder on this show all summer about when are they going to get a quarterback. I do not understand. Can you imagine? I mean, all due respect to Sam, Don, you may be saying that Tyrod Taylor is not like, his ceiling is what it is. He's not better than Daniel Jones. I think we all agree this team would be way more potent. The Jets team would be way more potent with Tyrod Taylor.
The thing I'll say about Taylor is he is what he is. But what he is has been around the NFL for a long time, outside of what happened at the end of the second quarter against Buffalo. I think there's some things you can do with him that I don't think you can do with Zach Wilson. Now, the Jets' answer would be, but we believe as each week goes by, we may get to a point where we're not saying that anymore about Zach Wilson, where he clearly has turned a corner. I think he's turned a little bit of a corner where he's not making as many mistakes, but if you're going to get to the level where this team is really legitimately making a run, Michael, he's going to have to make some plays. You look around the NFL, it's all about the quarterback. It's got to be so frustrating for Jet fans. You've got as talented a team as there is in the NFL, but
you're the quarterback,
but you get the quarterback.
You could if you're the Jets, you could have brought in Gardner Minshew. You could have. I mean, Gardner Minshew's no great deal, but I mean, you know what? He's a legitimate backup quarterback.
I don't know. See, the thing is with Gardner Minshew, though. See, now I don't like the argument because I don't think Gardner Minshew gives you enough to make it worthwhile to not try to develop Zach Wilson.
No. This is not the year to develop Zach Wilson.
Yeah,
but I'm just saying, I don't know that Minshew might not be far above Zach Wilson.
I think he is.
Okay,
Right.
but I'll throw you Tyrod Taylor's career statistics. And you guys tell me if Zach Wilson's ever going to get there. And then, Michael, back to Don's point earlier about Daniel Jones' ceiling. Is Daniel Jones going to end up here? Tyrod Taylor for his career is 27, 26-1 as a starter. He's thrown for he's thrown for over 11,000 yards with a 62 completion percentage of 62. He has 62 touchdowns over 26 interceptions. I don't know if Zach Wilson will ever be that guy for his career. And I'm sorry, those are pretty good career statistics.
And you saw it in that Cleveland-Indianapolis game. I think if they're at least going into the game Sunday, if there was a defense that you could compare to the Jets, it's the Browns.
Yes.
The Browns have an excellent defense. They probably could have the defensive player of the year in Myles Garrett, and they gave up 38 points to the Colts. So there's yards and there's points to get. So Minshew can get those. Hey, he's not a great quarterback. He is what he is.
But he's capable.
But he's capable. And because there's points to be had in this league. That's why you've got to score. At some point, as good as the Jets defense is, Michael, they're going to put up a stinker like the Browns did last night or yesterday. You still have to find a way to win that game. And what did the Browns do? They won it with a backup quarterback because Watson went down in the first quarter because two backup quarterbacks had, over almost 80 points combined? Because in this league, you got to score. And that's going to be the problem with the Jets is can they win that type of a game? Can they produce those kind of
And I don't think they can because if the defense has a bad game, it's a loss. Right. Because the only way they can win is for the defense to be exemplary every single game.
Bears played a backup yesterday, scored 30.
An undrafted backup.
Because it's as Steve Young said, the yards, it's all out there. So where the Jets made the mistake and where DJ Reed made the mistake about comparing this defense to the 85 Bears, you can't be the 85 Bears anymore. You can't be the 2000 Ravens. They wouldn't be that. If you took the 85 Bears, played them today, they'd give up points because that's the way the league is. You just can't. It's just amazing to me the lack of penalties, the things that work in favor of the offense all the time, and you just need a quarterback that's capable of taking advantage of that. And right now, at least this season, neither of the local teams have been able to find that out.
Well, that's the Robert Saleh Report.